Open this photo in gallery. The RCMP has been found guilty on one count of violating the Canadian Labour Code. The federal police force failed to provide its officers with the proper equipment and training in an active shooter event, New Brunswick Provincial Court Justice Leslie Jackson has found. He released a 64-page judgment on his decision Friday morning but did not elaborate on his reasons. The National Police Force was charged with 4 Labour Code violations in the wake of a deadly shooting rampage on June 4, 2014, in which 3 officers lost their lives and 2 others were wounded in a 20-minute span. The Mounties, all of whom were carrying standard-issue duty pistols, were outgunned by Justin Bourque, a shooter who armed himself with a semi-automatic rifle, among other weapons, when he set out from his trailer with the aim of hunting police. A 30-hour standoff ensued, paralyzing a neighborhood in North End Moncton and traumatizing both residents and the officers who found themselves unequipped to take Mr. Bourque down. Mr. Bourque's long-range weapons allowed him to shoot at police while taking cover from them in forested areas. The RCMP's duty pistols, however, had a maximum firing range of 25 feet. That meant police would have to get close to Mr. Bourque to use them, but that was impossible given that the man was targeting officers. Employment and Social Development Canada, the federal department responsible for investigating deaths of government employees, leveled 4 charges against the RCMP. The force is accused of failing to provide its officers and their supervisors with the appropriate equipment and training to combat an active shooter, failing to provide supervisors with the right training to ensure members' safety, and more broadly, failing to ensure the health and safety of every officer in its employ. Each charge carries a maximum fine of $1 million. Rank-and-file members of the RCMP have been increasingly outspoken about their need for safer working conditions for the protection of officers and the public alike. For many, that means faster access to more capable weaponry and body armor, despite long-standing concerns that it could change the image of the RCMP in the communities they serve. The added safety, they argue, is worth it. Over the course of a 2-month trial before New Brunswick Provincial Court Justice Leslie Jackson, several witnesses testified that deaths would have been prevented if Moncton Mounties had had access to C8 carbine rifles. The guns, which were approved by the force's senior executive in 2011, had yet to be rolled out in the Moncton-based Kodiak detachment even though they were in routine use in other parts of the country. No Mounties in Moncton had been through training at the time of Mr. Bourque's rampage. During the final days of trial testimony, then RCMP Commissioner Bob Polson testified that he did not believe having the carbines would have made a difference. He said he didn't believe there was a deficit in either training or equipment. Mr. Polson's testimony set off ripples of discontent among rank-and-file members of the force. RCMP Corporal Patrick Bouchard, a friend of the fallen officers stationed in Sunny Corner, NB, sent the top Mountie a letter to voice his disgust. He later posted it on Facebook. When he heard his boss refuse to admit the officers were under-equipped, he wrote, "I felt like I had been punched in the gut." He went on to say, "I hold you personally responsible for the deaths of my friends. I hold you responsible because you have placed money and image ahead of the safety of the members you are sworn to protect."